What is going on, B.O.S.S fam? It is week 95, episode 95 rather, and we have some good topics today. All right, so guys, like and share the feed on Instagram. I talk so fast. Like and share this feed on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook. Text somebody. We got it all. All right, guys. So week number 95, episode 95. So guys, like and share this feed. This is our 95th episode, 95th live. About B.O.S.S Talks. We've been doing it for a while. We're excited about today because today is a brand new day. Today's a day to be happy. Today is a day. It's Wednesday, hump day. You can refresh yourself. You can renew yourself because it's going to be a great day regardless. All right. So if you're having a rough day so far, at what is the time? It's 12:17 p.m. Let's make it a great day for the rest of you. So got 12 more hours of this day to make it dope. All right, so we started with our praise report on Wednesday. So Natalie, tell me something good. What's going on with you?
Listen, my clients are getting results. That's the best win for me today. One of my clients, she said that she had been struggling for a little while, trying to figure out what she should put out as her, because she's a coach, and what she should put out as her beta program and her offering. And so she's been working on that for a minute. And just recently, she had a couple of people reach out to her, and she said, "Hey, I'm doing this program or whatever. It's going to be free." And they said, "No, we dare not take your program without paying you. Give us a price." I said, you got value. And somebody said, "I will not dishonor you by not paying you. Let me pay you, sis." And so I'm just riding high on that amongst the other wins that a few of my other clients are having. They're getting booked left and right. Some people are getting speaking engagements. It's just, I am just super excited about their results on today. So their results are my results. Their wins are my wins.
Their results, your results, your wins are their wins. Because I think when you're connected to people, there should be a level of results trickling down from everybody, right? One thing I love about like having really kingdom friendships and godly friendships and just really good partnerships, right? It's great to see your friends win. And even if you don't feel like you're winning, celebrate yourself, your friends, celebrate your business partners, because what happens is when you have the attitude of celebration and gratitude, your time will always come. Never worry about what's not going right in your life. Sometimes you got to be like, let me just celebrate you because I am happy for you, right? Because joy is contagious because it comes onto you as well too. All right, so for me, I'm excited because I told you time leads for the event space. We're having a grand opening vibe on the 7th of September for our event space. And I just think about it, just a month ago, I was about to get involved with a contract or space that I did not really, it's not I didn't like it. It wasn't like a love situation. And now I'm thinking about it now. Now I didn't have to do no repairs. And I'm not only getting one spot, but two spot for the situation. So even if I divide, my friend had made a good comment because technically one spot would be like $4K. I was going to be paying $3,200 a month at this one spot. So it's not much more for me to get it, and I would have paid more for repairs. So I'm just really grateful that God is just providing and doors just being opening. But the key thing is I'm learning to be patient. I'm learning to trust the process. But in the meantime, we waiting on what I desire from God. I'm learning to learn in the meantime. Like, what are you learning during your seasons of things not looking like it's working out, or it's not the time for you to shine? And I think the biggest thing too is like for years, like my friend, all three of us that were doing the spots together, we have served so many people, been a blessing to so many people, and it's great to see like our return. It's good to see like our come up season, So that's why I pay to celebrate others. And speaking of that, so before we've always had these moments of growth and like praises, we had to do something that's so important, which is navigate challenges. And that's what we're talking about today, navigating challenges. So Natalie, what's your take on navigating challenges? Like, what does that mean to you?
So I love this topic, and I'm so excited we get to talk about this today, because navigating challenges for me is not just always the negative. people assume that
Mm-hmm.
because it's a challenge, it has or implies a negative connotation. But making money can be a challenge. Multiplying that money can be a challenge. Having an abundance of clients, clients where you have people on a waiting list, so you can't serve all of them at the same time. That's also a challenge. And so while I was in my season where there was not a lot of people knocking down the door, I utilized that time to navigate through my emotions when those challenges came. So I remember having 0 clients. When
Mm-hmm.
somebody, I had a coach say to me, she was like, "Girl, you can't make $1,000 to save your life." She was like, "You have such good content, such good information, but you are just out here just running your mouth." I mean, she didn't say it like that. I just took it that way. But it was true. It was true. I was talking about all the things that I was overcoming. I was putting myself out there as a coach, but I did not know how to sell. And the challenge wasn't that people didn't want what I had to buy. I wasn't attractive enough. And when I mean attractive enough, my message, my content, my delivery was not attractive enough. And so I took that challenge. She really set it up for me. She set it up as, "Natalie, I challenge you to make $1,000 in your business." And the very next month, I shut the business completely down. And I said, I have to figure out a way to actually make money. This is not working. I had been in business for an entire year and didn't make, I think I made about $1,000 that entire year. And I couldn't get anybody to pay what the value of the service that I had. And so as I went in and I dug deep, that challenge, so to speak, the lack, so to speak, forced me to figure out, how am I presenting this information to people? Why am I not attractive enough for them to buy? What is wrong with my messaging or my presentation? I really had to dig deep. And one of the questions that I asked myself during that time is, what is it that I have that is valuable enough for somebody to pay? And the very next month, I didn't come up with $1,000 program that year. I came up with a $497 program. And I gave it away for free at first because I said, I need to test this out in the market, see how well it does. And then I started asking the people when I tested it out, how much would you be willing to pay? And from that price, I started with a $500 product. And then I evolved into now my program is $2,500. But it started with the fact that I had a challenge of, how you gonna get somebody to pay you premium price for something that you just out here seemingly giving away for free?
I think what I love about that so much is the first part is is your business appealing to others? And I think so oftentimes too, with our businesses, like it's so lackadaisical. Like it's like, and I hate to make this reference, like I love my soul food restaurants, right? But we'll start off so great, but then along the line we'll start switching stuff up and it's not consistent. And it's just then it's, we don't got this today. We don't got this today, right? So I think the vibe has to be is you have to show up so consistently and think about how to make your product beautiful that people want it. Like when I first started doing a private dining experience, I had the setup, but I didn't have like the decor and stuff like that down pat, right? Where I would go to Michael's, they would have a discount code. I would buy just little trinkets to add to the table because I know I always wanted to elevate my experience for my like my clients, and even to my students. Like sometimes when they would work for me, they would put stuff up so raggedy, like just throwing it around or break stuff. And I said, listen, I started charging them. If you break something, you got to pay for it. The reason why is because I want you to value. This is how we make our money. So once you start to value what we have, value how you take care of it, value how you present it out, where we just can't throw stuff on the table. Like we got to fold the napkin a certain way just because we want to worry about the aesthetics, because you got to think there are a lot of people attracted to what you have when you make it more beautiful. You know, there are certain things where like if I could just have an apple, apple could be beautiful, but let me make an apple pie a certain way, or let me make a compote. Like we have to always realize that your purpose is attached to elevation. Doing your purpose is not going to stay the same all throughout the time of life. You're going to have moments because we're human beings, we're growing every day. So when you're growing every day, you have to decide that I want to grow every day with my business or my life or my family because I want to have growth attached to my purpose. And there's so oftentimes we're staying stagnant because we're not valuing ourselves enough. Like the reason why I'm able to navigate challenges and handle setbacks is because I know the value of what my gift is going to bring so much more love, fun, gratitude. It's going to bring so much more to other people. So I think it's so important to go back to knowing your purpose and having clarity of it, because when you're faced with a difficult time, the setback is not a setback, but it's actually a training ground, right? Like it's like a boot camp to know what do I have inside of me. And once you realize, when you know what you have inside of you, you move differently, right? Before, when I used to do like desserts or something like this, I was good at it. But when I know the effect I would have on people, I started being more intentional about what I presented to people. And I think it has to come when you start knowing your purpose. Like my purpose is so valuable, I don't want to just present it anyway. Or if I have a setback in life, I'm like, nah, people still need to get my gift. Like I got to make sure that my gift is out. I got to make sure my business is out, because what I have is going to add so much value to you that I can't let this one situation stop me from being great. Right. So I think you have to have a mindset that's continuously open to pivoting, where it's not gonna be easy. Like you're gonna have struggles. You're gonna have times where you don't have enough money. You might not have enough to pay your bills, or people don't support you. And I realized that the people that are supposed to support me are those who meant to support me. Like I stopped looking at friends and family. Oh man, you don't support me, so what? Like they don't even have. I'm not saying they about my family and friends, but I'm saying people that you want to support you a lot of times don't even have the capacity to support you the way you should be supported. So instead of complaining about what you don't have, look at what you do have and just make it dope.
Instead of complaining about what you don't have, look at what you do have and make it dope. That was the line of the century. Like we can end there. Peace out, y'all. We done. That was so good. And you know what? It brought me back to when I first started. What I didn't value, which was most valuable, was my time. I didn't value my time. And you know how I didn't value my time? I was working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I didn't value my time. I thought time was like, whatever. I could just, I just do the business all day, every day. And I didn't really value my time. I didn't see my time as precious. So I would even get on these calls, and it was supposed to be an hour long, and I'll be 2 hours talking to people for free. I didn't value my time. And so I had to really, and God did that work, to be honest with you. I had to, he shifted my mindset around time, and he asked me to specifically stop working 24 hours a day. My time got so rigid, right? It was first, don't work on the weekends. I was like, cool, I don't want to work on the weekends either. Then it was, don't work on Wednesdays. And I was like, okay, that don't leave me 4 days out of the week. Or don't see clients, don't speak to clients on Wednesdays. Don't speak to clients on Fridays. Don't speak to clients the first week out of the month. That only left me with 12 days out of the month where I was open to speaking to clients. And in my mind, I'm like, how in the world is that going to make me money? But what it forced me to do was, during the other time, it forced me to build my business. I could not speak to clients if I had nothing of value to give them, right? And first, it required that I valued my time around it. So I had more time to build something that was worth something, to build something that when they came into my session, they would actually get results. And I couldn't build from the outside in. What a lot of us do when we come into entrepreneurship, because I did it too, is I see other coaches in the industry, right? And because they know way more than I do about this specific thing, which is coaching, then I automatically assume I should do it like them. But God called me into a saturated market because I'm different. And I need to find out how I'm different and why I'm unique, so that I can stand out and make the dollars that other people are not willing to stand out and make. Some people are okay with just blending in, right? So if the average coach makes around 125, this is what I heard all the time. So I'm not telling you something that I didn't hear people tell me, right? I was grabbing everybody's free coaching calls as well, because I was like, it's free, let me get in there and get some nuggets, right? And they were like, the average coach makes $125. So you need to be with the average so that you can at least make money. Now, at the time, I was charging $50 an hour. And before that, I was charging 20. So that was a huge leap and a huge stretch for me. But what I didn't realize is I could charge what I knew was valuable. I didn't have to limit myself to the average of what everybody else was making in the industry. But I didn't take the time, one, and I didn't take the time in the beginning to really sit with myself and say, hey, how are you showing up unlike everybody else? What are you providing that other people don't provide? And when I got down to the nitty gritty at that particular time, because it has evolved so much since then, it was clarity. The way that I presented clarity, the way that I allowed people to get clarity in their business, it was like unlike anybody else. And so I just created a framework out of my own experiences. And then once I presented it, people were like, yo, I'm willing to pay $500 for this. I said, bet, let's do it. And that's how we started. It evolved later on, but it started with me saying, look, I need to value my time. I need to put some boundaries around this, and I can't work 24/7. And lastly, I'm gonna let it go now after this. I had to also value other people's time. I remember getting into a session with someone and it was free, and I got mad because they didn't buy afterwards. And Holy Spirit said to me, why are you valuing money above time? These people have no idea who you are. You ain't nobody in the market. You don't got no reputation. You don't got no name. And you out here peddling basically something that you think is valuable, but they still have to encounter you on a different level. Right? So you need to start valuing the 30, 45, or 60 minutes that they chose to spend with a stranger and reveal all the parts of them and their business that they don't really tell a lot of people. And you need to show them tangibly that you value them. So after that, I started setting up my funnel so that as soon as I got off a free call, they would get a response to say, thank you. I value your time so much. Thank you for spending time with me and allowing me to help you take your business to the next level. Once I started doing that, to ask for payment, man, it was a whole nother level after that.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I'm about to tag her in this Azraeus. So Blondery is a bakery that's based actually in Peekskill, New York. The thing I love about Azraeus, I've known Azraeus since we went to, I think our senior year of college when we became cool. And one thing I love about her when it came to identify purpose is when it came to her products, she's always known what to charge. And people have complained about it, but she's like, listen, I'm using top of the line products. I'm using all fresh ingredients. I'm using the expensive butter, not the cheap butter, the European butter. So like her product is really dope, and I love the fact she's never budged on that. And there are people who complain about it, but Keith Lee just had one of her things, and it went viral. And just seeing that, like how for years like, she's been in New York Times and just all over the country doing certain things. But I think it was so amazing how she didn't ever stop. She knew the value of her product, and I think so oftentimes when you really establish your the value of your product, you knew you use fresh ingredients to promote that, like promote all of this stuff that you do, because no one knows. But once you know the value of your product and once you can talk about it, it doesn't matter what somebody else says. If you know what, people will start to gravitate towards value because they want value. Like I think sometimes too we may penny pinch certain things or prices because we feel like, oh, that might be too expensive. No, everybody is not everybody is not broke. Everybody is not going to complain about your stuff. If you have like stuff that's good, people will buy that. Like I have people who say, "Oh, Jay, you too expensive," but you know what though? Once they come, they say, "Okay, it was well worth it." Because my point is of providing experience because of the value. But there are certain things too. I realize too when I have like certain challenges, I go back to Romans 8 verse 28. But we know that all things work together for the good of those who love Christ Jesus, be called according to his purpose. I realize my purpose is attached to God's purpose, right? So because of that, I know that everything will work out, even if it seems like it won't, because I know all things work together for me. And once you start to realize that, it becomes different. And another scripture is, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. When you have those moments of doubt or faith or fear, or you feel like you can't do it, I automatically go to, hey, no. I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me. Because when you start handling setbacks effectively, they prevent small issues that become major issues. Like, for example, is if Natalie didn't know how to manage her time at the $20 level and the $50 level, you'll be doing so much more work than you have to at a bigger level. There's some things that you have to monitor And as you identify your purpose and handle those small little issues, you have so much greater impact. Um, and I think it's really about balancing your purpose and practicability, right? So in Ecclesiastes 3 verse 1, it says, for there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. When you are, especially are creative, I talk about this all the time. Sometimes as a creative, you can be hit with so many different things, like because you're flowing so much, but also the reality of life, can really affect your purpose. Where you may be a parent, you may be taking care of a loved one, you may have a demanding job trying to do your purpose, like whatever it is, you may have a health issue, whatever it is, like purpose has to be balanced. Where it's like, I'm gonna have faith, but I still have to be practical about certain things. Where with my business, I can't always give 24 hours a day. Let me be practical. If I give so much hours a day, I become tired. So tomorrow I can't give my best because I'm stuck in a certain situation where I'm not resting. Because even though I go hard for my business, practicality is if I work a job for 8 hours a day, why would I do all these hours and not get rest for what I want to do? I think sometimes too, when I be like doing stuff, when I'm doing something important, I have to take a break from it because I realize I could be so passionate about my purpose, but I also have to realize that, hey, let me be practical. I still need rest. I still got to pay my bills. Like there's certain things you have to do. So I think about as you start to really operate in your purpose, you start moving differently when it comes to setbacks and handle certain things because, I realize that sometimes you may be stressed out over certain things that may just take you going to sleep for like 5 hours and you get the answers that you need. When you're always constantly moving, you can have the dopest product in the world, but until you one, establish value, but two, make practical steps of reaching that goal. Where tomorrow you may not, make $100,000, but you know what? Tomorrow I may make 100. The next day I might make 200. So I think it's about building momentum in your business because once you have momentum, it becomes easier to handle setbacks because sometimes having an issue can knock you out the game. Like having a setback can knock you so far out the game that you don't even realize that it's help on the other side of you getting through this. But you're so focused on, like, I love that meme. It talks about how, like Jesus holding a teddy bear behind his back, and the big one, but you have the little one. I don't want to let it go, but it's like, yo, I have something way bigger for you. But I think you have to learn how to balance and be practical because every moment is not for everything. So when you start balancing your purpose and practicality, it becomes so much easier to put first things first. In Matthew 6 verse 33 says, seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all his righteousness will be added unto you. And I realized that the first thing I got to do is always like seek God about my business, about my purpose, because sometimes by seeking, like, gives you like clarity, like seeking mentorship gives you clarity because you could be the dopest person at what you do, but once you don't have clarity of it, when you don't take time to really balance the purpose and make practicality, it's very easy to fall short or to not have enough or don't ever see the way out because you're so stuck in a situation that you're not looking above the situation to make a better impact for yourself.
That's really good. And as you were talking about being practical, being purposeful and matching that with practicality, that is so true. And I see that a lot when I'm working with Christian women entrepreneurs, right? They are so purpose minded that they forget that if you don't make money, you don't have a business. You just have a really expensive hobby. And eventually you will feel fulfilled. You will feel unfulfilled because you don't have the resources necessary to keep up with the demands of your purpose. And so this is why the exchange is necessary. I know a lot of people that struggle, even myself, I struggle with selling because I had been exposed to sleazeballs and, people calling all hours of the day talking about they want to sell me something. I had been tricked and duped into giving money and not getting what I wanted in the past. I know we've heard even Pastor Mike Todd said that that's happened to him. He bought some shoes on Instagram and then they took his money and never sent him the product. So, we're exposed to that type of experiences, right? And we're exposed to those stories. And so we automatically assume And we automatically attach negativity when it comes to selling, but we have to realize what is the purpose and what practical steps do I need to implement in order for my purpose to be fulfilled. And if you being a business owner, if that is part of your purpose, if being an entrepreneur is part of your purpose, then you're going to have to make sales. You're going to have to sell. You're going to have to position yourself and market. There's certain things that are foundational to being an entrepreneur and a sales and a business person, right? That you can't just get around. You have to be able to work through. And the challenges, they come so that you can work through those things. They come so that you can work beyond your limiting beliefs, to go beyond that. They come so that you can start seeing things in a new light. I love that even now I'm teaching my clients that famine doesn't always look isn't always what it looks like. In the Bible, famine sometimes was used to redirect people. So a famine came when Joseph was Joseph was getting ready to be elevated from the prison to the palace. A famine came. What did the famine actually do for the people who were not in Egypt, the people who were Joseph's family, Jacob and all the other 11 brothers? What the famine did was redirected them to Egypt, to Goshen, where the land was fertile in Goshen. And so we have to start looking, especially for Christian entrepreneurs, because we claim that we are connected to the kingdom. We know God. We know the God of the universe that knows all the answers to everything. But why are we still broke? Why are we still not getting results, right? Are we looking at it from the right perspective? The challenge doesn't come to deplete you of the little that you have. The challenge comes so that you can redirect your resources to the right places. It comes so that you can pivot and change direction. Because they would have stayed in Canaan and they would have died. But it came to pivoting and changing direction to go to a place that was way more fertile than the place that they were currently in. And so we have to start looking at the challenges with a different perspective, with God's eyes, so that we can see it as the thing that God is using to redirect us, to realign us, and to keep us in purpose.
Oh yeah. I think the best part about that, well, I think being able to adapt to change is really important. I think about the pandemic, right? Because that's the most recent thing that probably was like a whole world situation, right? That was a global pandemic. But during the pandemic, that's the most I ever made at that point in my whole career, because I learned how to pivot. I think too, once things are taken away from you that are normal for you to have, you learn how to pivot real fast. Like you like, okay, how I'm gonna do this, how I'm gonna do this, when it's just like, yo, let me think about all my gifts, because like I was doing private every week, but we just, we adjusted it. But it was so many people wanted to do private events because they didn't want to do it in public, because events were, so restaurants weren't doing that many parties. So now it's like, how do I pivot? And I learned how to really be, a better business person, because I adapted to change. I realized, think about scriptures, the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. So I know that when I'm in my purpose, I'm in alignment, right? Whenever I'm working on a project, I'm in alignment. So when I think about that alignment, I start to think, okay, cool. I know that what I have going on is to better people's life. So I know that when my vision is attached to purpose, things always work out. Even too, like I have a mentoring program with kids. Like people will book just because they like having the kids around. So I think you have to be so attached to adapting to life, because challenges are always gonna come. Like I think to think that life is not gonna have slip ups or mess ups is ludicrous to think that, because we all have situations. Life be lifing. At the end of the day, life be lifing. But sometimes, like how Natalie said, like you got to really change your perspective. Like going to the eye doctor to ask if this better, is this better, because it's really about your vision, not the situation. The situation is never the problem. It's your view of the situation. Because once I get my alignment of my vision, it's so easier for me to find a solution. Like I think that's the biggest thing about it, is what are we going to do to make a difference? Like, how are we going to do it? Like right now, I'm back in like full-time entrepreneurship mode with being creative, where, I think too, by opening this event space is making me like reimagine business again, where I'm like, okay, it's time to get on hustle mode. But this time around, how are we going to do the hustle? Because like when I first marketed my first spot, I was on a lot of events, but how do I be more strategic about it? So I think too, creating strategy for overcoming is very important. Like finding things in your arsenal, which is so important to study while you in your downtime. Study a craft, perfect your craft, study something new, learn something new because you never know when you may need it. Like even too, I've always taken photos. I never knew I would use it to promote my business years later. I've always been into like videotaping and stuff like that. Never thought I would start a cooking show. That was the furthest thing from my mind. Like I blend flavor well. So I never thought me blending flavor well would turn into a seasoning line. I think as you start to become even too a heat press. Like I've always liked to get my custom t-shirts. I'm like, Josh, why don't you get a custom one? So this is one of my shirts right here. Like I think as you start to develop, you start tapping into your career, tapping into your gifting, because every gift makes sense when you start to really think. Like things start to work together. And I think that's the hardest thing too, is finding when to do what, with discovering when to do what and how to do it. Like I know for a fact, I'm only going to promote Thanksgiving food during Thanksgiving. Like I would not do a Thanksgiving sale when it's not Thanksgiving. I would not do a Valentine's Day sale when it's not Valentine's Day. But I'm good at both areas of producing a product that promotes that. But you got to know when to pivot or when to promote what. And I think the more you start to study your purpose, you start to see that opposition is definitely more so a growth moment for you. Like I've grown so much from opposition, where opposition I know is going to build character. So I think the reason why I always got to deal with opposition is because I'm kind of used to it now. Like I was at the interview the other day that I know is going to be an interview, and the coordinator was giving me scenarios, and I'm like, oh, I'll just do X, Y, and Z. And he was like, oh, well, why would you do X, Y, and Z? I said, because this is what I would do. And it was just crazy because as we was talking about it, questions like that, if I never been through, I could have been stumped on it. But what happens when you go through a lot of stuff, it's like you're just naturally prepared. So I never complain when I'm in situations that are uncomfortable because I know I thrive in uncomfortable situations. And I've learned, and I think I sometimes I thrive more in uncomfortable situations than regular situations because I'm just so used to sometimes what some people see as chaotic. For me, it's like, okay, how I'm gonna win in this moment because I already know I'm gonna win. But now the thing is like, okay, so what do I do to make the victory? Because I know that, like I know I said this a while ago, but it was this lady, Sister Joyce, that used to go to our church that we were when we were younger, and she said to me, she was like, Josh, you're like Cookie though. You allow God to roll you out different ways. You might get cut sometimes. The pressure may do something, but guess what? The same goodness is inside of you. And I think once you start to realize what's inside of you, it's so easy for it to come out naturally. So if you never put any goodness inside you, how do you expect things to come out? Like when you start to, like, for example, when I first started teaching, I restudied my textbook from Johnson and Wells because one thing about kids, they're gonna ask you a lot of questions and we don't know it. And you see the urban school, they're gonna start ragging you. Or if I say it wrong, they're gonna say, Chef, you said X, Y, and Z. That ain't true. So I've learned to study to show myself approved because when it's time to regurgitate information or to find solution, what's in you is going to come out because you are already prepared to adapt to the change.
Good. I love that you even talked a little bit about, or a lot about opposition and how it's challenging you and forcing what's already on the inside of you to come out. And that's the thing about it. A lot of us don't believe that there's anything in us, but all of the things, even the things that we encountered when we were on our 9 to 5, when we were in education or the other industries that we were a part of, right? Even in our childhood, how we overcame those situations is helpful to us where we're at right now. Some of those things we have to refine the process, right? But we need to go back and see that we are more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. We quit too soon on something when we don't realize like we do have it on the inside of us. And like I said in the beginning, challenges don't always look like a famine or lack of clients or not having enough funds, right? Sometimes challenges can be a multitude of opportunities. I have these 6 opportunities. What am I going to do? I have an opportunity to speak here for 100K. I have an opportunity to show up here in this particular program for 20K per person. I have an opportunity to fly out to India and speak. Like, that's challenging as well. It's having to make the difficult choice in the midst of a lot of choices, right? That's also challenging. So when we start shifting our mindset from a challenge being something that is negative to a challenge being something that enforces and reinforces growth, then we'll start seeing that as an entrepreneur, we love problems. This is our job. We get paid to solve people's problems. And the more problems we solve, the more money. But the greater the value of the problem that we solve, right? The more money we can make. So it doesn't have to be like I'm solving 20 people's problems. I can solve one specific type of person problems over and over and over again and make that money. But it also has to start from within, you knowing through challenges that you are a problem solver. This is just who I be. And I'm showing up in the marketplace being who I be. And that you have to, as you're, growing, for me, I had to give myself space, a safe place in order to express my emotions, because I didn't realize I was so much more emotional than I gave myself credit for. I thought I was even keel, but I'm not. I just learned how to hide it very well. So now part of my routine is to sit with my emotions. I recently had a client trigger the mess out of me, and I didn't like it. And I had to sit with it, like, what is about the situation, about this person that is triggering me. And when I took the time to sit with it, it wasn't even her. It was me. It was how I was responding. I can choose how I respond to get a different outcome. And so for me, giving myself space is part of my process for overcoming challenges.
That's so good. Sometimes you gotta realize that you're the problem. Because a lot of things, when I look at people like, oh, nobody's buying my product, nobody's supporting me, this set me back. Like, I had a coaching call with somebody who I thought was gonna be a client, and they gave me every reason why they couldn't do their business. Every reason why. And I'm like, why did you bring this up to talk to me of all people about that? I'm the person where it's just like, I don't ever have a no in me. Like, there's no can't. There's no, once I said I can do all things in Christ that strengthens me, there's no can't in that. Like, I think too is like what I realized. So it's a scripture in Isaiah that talks about, I'm about to do a new thing. Are you not aware? I'll even put a road in the wilderness, rivers in the desert. I think too that, and this is just the I guess the faith part of me, that God will put a river in a desert just because I'm loved. And I think it goes back to realizing that once your value, you start to feel the love all over you. Like, through this process, the past 2 days I've been posting about the whole event space. It's been so much love, and people, like, this one guy commented. He said, "I know it's going to be such a dope experience because I know who you are." Like, I think too is there are people who sometimes see our value more than us, that we have to realize that, like, we're loved so much by God, or whoever you may subscribe to. Like, I'm so loved that it's just like, why would God not do this for me? Like, I'm following the plan. I'm trying my best to be a good person. I'm sowing seeds. I'm not perfect, but I'm reaching every day to take a step further. So why would God not provide for me? And I think that's the issue too, is about realizing who's on your side, right? When like, I've stopped. I think I'm not sure what year that I stopped, but a long time ago, I stopped worrying about how it's gonna happen or being in fear that it's not gonna happen. I just know that it's gonna happen. I don't know how, I don't know where, but you know what? I'm gonna do what I gotta do. I'm gonna keep posting my content. I'm gonna keep reaching out to people. I'm gonna keep showing up for other people, going to events, because sometimes you're in the waiting room. Like, some doctor's office, before you get service, there may be a long line. Like even like today, I was in Hertz because I had to get this in my car, and last time too. And this is a smaller Hertz. So I'm used to being like gold member. I get through the line like this, but now I'm at a different type of Hertz, like a standalone out of the airport, and they're much slower. And I'm like, I'm in the waiting room knowing I'm going to get the vehicle I want, knowing I'm going to check out soon. But sometimes you just have to be in that waiting room and not have an attitude. Work on yourself because you know God is going to provide for you. And I think in the meantime, I've learned in those moments of uncertainty, I've learned to build a stronger relationship with God where I'm like, God, show me your ways, teach me your paths, because in Psalm 25 it says that where I don't want to do things my way. And I'm learning that. Because sometimes I do, because I'm used to just being a mover and a shaker. But sometimes I got to humble that and say, God, what do you have for me to do? Because if this is not for me to do, give me a sign or show me a better way, because I want to make sure that I'm pivoting, and I think through that waiting room, those times get hard, like you see things. And I think the biggest part about it too, I will say the biggest thing about finding your purpose is finding your tribe, right? Where I literally can call Natalie, Halima, Daria. I can call my friends like Sean, and I can really get a lift up. And I think too, when your friend circle, you would have a strong friend circle when you are going through trying times, because as an entrepreneur, you do feel alone because you're different. So let me find my different people, because I know I have moments where I don't want to try, I don't want to give up, where it's so easy to give up, but then my friends come back and say that ain't it, that's not the vibe. When did you get a cat? Oh, that's a dog. When did you get that dog? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, the dog look different. I, I'm sorry. That's so random. I'm like, what's that in the background? No, but I'm sorry. But I think the thing about when you're in a reading room, you got to regurgitate your value. You got to say your scriptures. You got to say your faith. What I started doing with my friends who were doing event space, I try to start the phone conversation of what up, millionaire event space owners, because I know we'll get there, but let's start speaking it now, because right now we getting this money up, so we know that the end result is always going to be exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or think. So we might as well start claiming and living in it now, because we know what's going to happen. And I think what happens is when you get those trying moments, those hard times, hard times will always come, but it's about building resilience and adapting to change, because adapting to change is always going to be crucial for business survival and long-term success.
Amen. What you want me to add to that? You just wrapped it up. Man, that was good. Yeah, I don't have nothing else. I can't even fake it. That was good. I love that. We summed up everything. Like, we just have to really just sit in the fact that, look, we have what we need in order to overcome these challenges, and not even, even saying the word overcome sometimes makes it feel like it's about to be harder than what it is. Sometimes we got to go through them. We got to go through the challenges, right? So that we can come out on the other side. And I even think about it like going to another level. I can use the escalator. I can use the stairs. I can use the elevator. But what am I trying to build up? What muscle am I trying to build up? And which route do I need to take to build out that specific muscle? Because sometimes I don't want the easy route. I want to take the stairs because I want to build up that muscle, right? I want to build up my legs. If I have a long run or something in specific, I'm going to take the stairs, right? So that's all I have to think about as I'm going through these obstacles, is like, what muscle do I want to build up? For me, a lot of it was sales, and it was around this limiting belief that sales was sleazy and that I couldn't sell. I used to say stuff like, I'm just not a salesperson, right? And I would try to go all around it, right? I was trying to overcome the challenge of being a salesperson by saying certain things and doing certain things. And one day it was just like, you have to go through this. You have to build up muscle, because I couldn't afford to hire a salesperson at the time. So I had to become that thing. And now it's so much easier because I'm starting to recognize that the value must be exchanged. And that's how business runs. People exchange value for money. So no, you're not always talking about a price tag. You can overemphasize the value that you're going to receive. But when it boils down to it, they gotta sign a check. They got to sign the check. They got to deposit the money in the Stripe account. They got to do whatever. But the exchange is necessary. So we don't always have to think about overcoming an obstacle as something that is so strenuous and so hard and difficult, but we're going through it so that we can come out on the other side much more fluent, much more better, and a lot stronger than we were before we went through it.
Oh, that's good. And just kind of just two more points before we do the practical steps. Is two scriptures that I look at when it talks about building resilience. The first one is James 2, verse 4, that says 2 through 4, that says, consider it all joy when you face temptation or when you go through trials, because the testing of your faith produces perseverance. And I think the more you go through, and sometimes it's like, why I gotta go through this, God? It's building so much tenacity, strength. Sometimes we might be a little too rough, so we need a little love. So, like all of these, it builds up so much stuff in us that when you go through, just know that what am I going to get out of this situation? And another thing too, it talks about, 2 Timothy 4, verse 7. I fought the good fight. I have finished my race, and I've kept the faith. Like sometimes it's not even about where all you gotta do is keep the faith, even how hard it is. Sometimes just saying a scripture or saying a positive word today is all you need, because you never know who's looking at you and are inspired by your perseverance. Like there are people I know who don't be watching. They're like, Chef, I really appreciated that. And I'm like, man, like you just never know who's watching you. And you want to build up resilience because it equips you to handle business challenges and bounce back stronger. And so for this week, for our weekly practical steps, we have number 1, which is identify setbacks. Acknowledge and define the nature of any setback. You may have setbacks, but you want to identify what it is, how it looks. Like when I'm doing it, I want to describe it. Like today, I brought this juicer from Team, which is dope. So I was on the phone with Halima, and she was like, "Oh, take a picture of it." So I think, because I think the description, like she want to see the description of it. So it's so great that when you are doing certain things, that you're able to describe everything because you want it to make sense, right? Oh, that's what you're talking about. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I know what that is. So identify your setback, acknowledge it that this is a setback, define the nature of it, and then you can overcome it. The second one is develop a recovery plan. Create a plan to address and overcome the setback. So, okay, so this is the issue. So this is what I got to do to overcome it. And be quick to do it. Don't take too long to, handle stuff. Be quick to develop a plan. Because sometimes you sit in too long, you don't forgot about it and got confused. Seek support. Reach out to your support network for encouragement. If I need encouragement in the area of clarity, I'm going to call Natalie. If I'm so find friends because every friend is not good for everything. Every network isn't good for everything. So know where you get that motivation from and go to it quickly. Because I know that sometimes my sister got me one time, she's like, why you call these people before you make a decision? I said, because sometimes I like to get different perspectives because I trust my circle, because sometimes I might need to hear one word out of the 20-minute conversation that shifts my thinking because I trust my counsel. The next thing, number 4, is pray for strength to overcome challenges. I know one scripture I would pray is Romans 8:28, which is, I know that all things work together for them who love Christ Jesus and who've been called according to his purpose. You've been called for what you're supposed to do. You've been called for that business. You've been called to be a counselor. You've been called to be a chef. You've been called to be a teacher. You've been called to do those e-courses. You've been called to write that book. So listen, you've been called to do it, so just do it. Make it happen. And the last one is reflect and adapt. You want to journal and reflect every single day to make sure that it's happening and adjust the strategies accordingly. So first thing is identify setbacks. Number 2, develop a recovery plan. Number 3, seek support. 4, pray for strength. And number 5, reflect and adapt. Because you made to win. Anything else, Natalie?
You got me all hyped back here. I'm like, yes, you said you were called to this, okay? You ain't call yourself, God called you to this. And so you were made to win. It's time for us to win and win big in business and in life, period. No more holding back.
That's good.
No more shrinking. It's time for us to show up and show out. That's it.
All right, fam. So, guys, like and share this feed. You can still share it out. We're so excited for your growth. Tell us your praise report for the week. Tell us your excitement. We want to know what you got going on good this week. What like let's praise. We want to help you praise. And have you been blessed by this live, or you're taking the principles? Please share with us the stories, because we know that you're made to win. So let us know. Let us know what's going on. If you're looking for coaching, for clarity of purpose, reach out to us. We're here to help. Closed mouths don't get fed, and it's time to win. Have a super dope week on purpose. Remember, it's only 1:06. If you're having a bad day, make it great. You got what, 11 more hours to make it great. All right, bye.